Anyway, we're having a fireside chat with Chris Kubby, returning to the social day stage virtually to complete the hat trick. Chris Kubby is back, and Chris is renowned for delivering amazing presentations full of value and humour. If you've been to Social Day before, you'll know that Chris is absolutely fantastic. He always lights up the room, and we always run out of time for questions with Chris. And let's welcome Chris Kubby to Social Day.
Yes, I got fire.
It's Fireside, everybody. Welcome to Social Day Online. How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you?
Well, thank you. Getting there. You know, it's different, isn't it, to be on a virtual platform than it is to be there in person. But it's, you know, all the same, it's been a fun and interesting day.
That's good.
Fantastic. So we've got lots of questions coming for you from the Social Day community and also inside the app. But we've seen lots of questions coming through on Twitter as well for you. But before we get started, I would just like to ask you to tell us a bit about yourself, Chris. Who are you? What do you do? And that kind of thing. Oh, he's back. Hi, Chris.
I don't know what happened. Everything went down. The whole thing I was just frozen like this, like.
Oh my gosh. Well, don't go down again because I want to talk about like really random stuff for 10 minutes while we were waiting for you.
I don't know what's going on here. I've switched to a totally different internet connection. So let's just hope.
Let's hope. And Chris, we've got loads of questions now, luckily. Well, it's bought me some time to get all the questions in anyway. So, Chris, first of all, before we start with all questions, tell me who you are, what you do, and why you're here. We know why you're here. You're awesome. But tell us who you are and what you do.
Oh, my God. Okay, so I am primarily the CEO of Cubco, which is my agency that I founded almost 5 years ago. So 2016 was when I founded it. And that's primarily what I do is I run the agency, and that involves client strategy work, working with our account management team, our operations, marketing for Cub & Co., marketing for myself, my personal brand. And, I guess you could call me a social strategist. So I'm overall a digital strategist, but I've really kind of niched towards social media for the last 5 years since I founded the company. I'm Canadian. I'm actually living in Copenhagen. So shout out to any Danish people out there. Hello. Or any Canadian people. Hello, my other hand. So hello. And yeah, I've been living here in Denmark for 12 years now. I got 2 kids, a wife, 2 cars, a mortgage, 6 chickens, a cat. What else? What else is there?
Wow, I think, well, that's all good to know, especially about the chickens and the cat as well, which brings me on to my first question, which is super important, especially when we're talking to somebody, who's so good at the personal branding side, also who's so good with knowing all of the latest stuff in social media. The first question I had that somebody asked me was, if you were a pizza topping, what pizza topping would you be and why?
Oh man, this is important. I think I'm cheese. I am literally cheese. I am the only pizza topping that counts is cheese, because everything else doesn't matter. Like if you do not have cheese on a pizza, you don't have pizza. So I am the cheese. I am essential. That's all I can say.
Okay, let's get to the serious stuff now. I have to agree with you on that. There's no pizza without the cheese, and I've tasted pizza with vegan cheese, and it's not so good. Anyway, so let's get straight into our questions. Emma says she's super excited for this, but Jessica Williams says, "What's Jessica Williams Chadwick says, what's the best way to outsource your personal LinkedIn content, and can this be done effectively? Straight into it there.
Yes, it can. I think the best way to outsource it would be depending on what kind of content you're looking at. I've actually used a couple of different services, to be honest, so I have a little bit of experience in this. There is teams that you can literally send, unedited raw video that you've shot with this, and they will edit it up for you, and they'll put on subtitles, and they'll put on titles and make it, fancy Gary V style, whatever. And you can pay them $1,000 a month or whatever. And then it's sort of outsourced, right? And you can send them 20 videos or 10 videos or whatever their package is. So there's that. And then I would say, though, what isn't outsourceable is sort of the thought leadership or your personality or what you want to put into it. You can also get a lot of blog writers, like, for example, Express Writers is a good service that I've used, where you can outsource the sort of content. You can say, hey, I want you to write me something about Instagram Reels. I want like 10 tips for Instagram Reels. You pay them some money and they will develop it, and you get it back, and you can put your own spin on it and then put it out as a LinkedIn article, reference that article, milk the hell out of it, maybe turn it into a carousel post, like put it in a PDF, whatever. So there's that sort of aspect as well to outsource it. So like I said, you can't outsource the thoughts or the strategy, but you can definitely outsource the production of it. And I would, if you're a busy CEO or just a busy person in general, I would say that can really help you scale your content quickly.
That's a really good tip. Thank you, Chris. I hope that was helpful and answers your question well, Jessica. So Nikki says she's been looking forward to this one. Great. Thanks, Nikki. Michael Younger says, what would be your golden rule on creating engaging content across Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, particularly for smaller teams?
Particularly for smaller teams, engaging content across. I think that we're in an interesting place within social media content nowadays. And I think there's obviously, giving value is a broad sort of term, and a lot of, social strategists will say that, you got to give value, whatever that may be. Is that entertainment value? Is that knowledge value? I think that's sort of, where we play. But I think if I go even deeper into that, what I'm finding working extremely well right now is insights. So for example, there's so many people giving tips. There's so many people like, hey, here's 5 tips for this or 10 tips for this. And I'm guilty of that as well. I've done that forever. Where I've been sort of switching it now is talking more about deeper insights into something. For example, you can go back to my LinkedIn and see, I did a post maybe last week about, hey, we've been working with a brand to get their TikTok up and running. Here's what we've learned. Here's the insights, right? And I think that's different than tips. Insights are hard-earned sort of deeper knowledge into something, and an insight into something, maybe taking things that are beyond the tips and giving sort of a backstage look at something, how something is built. I think that's how you create more engagement with smaller teams, is that you go into, hey, we've done this production, or we've done this video, or we've done this strategy, or we've done this, whatever it is. Give us the insights behind the scenes. How was this built? What were the pitfalls? What were the considerations? And I think that's working extremely well right now for engaging content.
That's really, really good advice. So a little bit more insightful, using more of what you actually know than kind of, this is how it works, but actually having some knowledge of how it works and explaining that to your customers. Okay, so there's lots of questions, Chris. We've got a question from Nikki. Oh no, sorry. There's so many questions. I'm just trying to work out which ones are the best ones to ask. So why would you outsource your LinkedIn content? It needs to be authentic for a person-to-person platform. Not a question, just a like observation, I guess. Stuart says, has the way you approach content changed since COVID-19?
Yeah, actually, a little bit. I think the way we've changed is okay. So there's two sides. There's like my own personal brand. I've definitely gotten more quiet. This year in general, I've been much, much more quiet, and I think it's because there's so much stuff going around, and I think I've been guilty of saying, okay, listen, people don't want to hear about this. They want to, focus on their families, their business, their whatever it is. So I think what you have to do from a content standpoint now is be even more helpful, be even more giving, and not so much about sales and things like that, but giving advice or giving sort of support to people that need it. So if it is a business that's struggling, like if your customers are businesses that might be struggling with COVID, and you're a marketing agency, or maybe you're a recruiter, it could be about, like, in that light, how can you help them out and not be all about sort of closing deals? I think that has to be said. However, I would also say the appetite for content has exploded. Like, it has just gone through the roof on all, like, I say this is a once in a lifetime sort of thing, but we've seen across almost all the channels that we run for clients and paid media and all that kind of stuff. It's been greater engagement for cheaper prices because people are on the platforms a lot more, right? They have more time on their hands. They maybe need an escape from their, the drudgery of this sort or whole year. You can put out more content than you could actually before, and people will be more inclined to consume that content. So I would say being way more helpful and then putting out more content to fuel that sort of that growing need has been different for us, or that's what we've done.
Okay, thank you. Really interesting. Thank you for the question. Jade says, what are a few key things you can do? This is a really big question, actually, and it'll be really great for the marketers here, which is mostly everybody. What are a few key things you can do to become a better marketer?
Depends on where you are. So, for example, I think that really you have to understand human psychology if you want to be a better marketer. So I would say that getting education in human psychology, in anthropology, even, like, understanding how people operate, how people buy, why they buy things, why they don't buy things, is really key. So I think that if you want to be a better marketer, study people, study psychology. And also, I would say, have an extremely open mind to different cultures and different target segments and different groups, and not, roll your eyes at that, like, looking at 10-year-olds that are super into Fortnite and don't go, oh, that's such a crap game, and why the hell do they want to do that, or why are these people doing TikTok dances? If you're a curmudgeon, if you're sort of, always rolling your eyes at stuff, you won't succeed as a marketer. So you need to be extremely curious and sort of take a psychological or scientific approach into why are people doing these things, and don't look at it as the world is coming to an end because we're all, like, in our pajamas on TikTok, but look at it like, oh, that's interesting. Why are they doing that? I'm going to dig into that and find out. I think that's really key. And then I think also, if you're a marketer that's working for an agency, I think working for clients is one of the best things you can do, like going and working client side, working for a brand, seeing how a brand operates, and thinking, because it's way different than if you're on an agency side or if you're working in a brand side. They have totally different priorities and processes, and I think, and politics. So I think to become a better marketer for the brands that you work with, go work for a brand, go find out what are the struggles that they deal with, put yourself in their shoes. So those two things. And then if you haven't worked agency side, go work agency side if you're on a brand side. That'll really, like, connect some of the dots.
Fantastic. That's really, really good advice. And being open-minded as well is so important, isn't it? Great.
I think so.
The next question we have is from Beth Kirk, and Beth wants to
Hi,
know
Beth.
what are Chris's 3 top tips for companies to gain exposure on LinkedIn, please.
For companies, yeah, this is your people. So here's the thing: LinkedIn company pages don't perform well. I've been through the data. They suck. They really do suck. LinkedIn doesn't care about your company page at all. What they care about are people on the platform, because that's what drives the sort of interactions and engagement on the platform. So the number one thing you can do for your company page is actually activate your employees to put out, not just share links, because that also doesn't friggin' work. You need them to put out the content natively, right? So you need to find a way that you can produce content for your employees, or cut it up in a way that works for them, make them the thought leaders, make them get them engaged, and then have them send out stuff as branded content. If you can do that, that distribution channel will bring people to your page if you're tagged, or if you have like links to your page. And that's the number one thing you can do.
Fantastic. I hope that answers your question. And thank you for it. And Nikki has a question, and she says, how far ahead do you plan content moving forward, given that we've seen how quickly things can change and that things are still not quite on solid ground again yet? And I guess she's asking as well, have you learned any lessons from the way that you create and share content as well?
Sorry, can you repeat the question? It was just a little bit of choppy audio.
Yeah, I heard that. I don't know what that was. Sorry about that if you heard it externally as well. So how far ahead will you plan content moving forward, given that we've seen how quickly things can change and what things are still not quite on solid ground again yet?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I think, we're planning content for brands months in advance, simply because the production value is a bit higher. So we're out shooting stuff that, with fancy cameras and lighting and directors, and so there's a different style to it sometimes. If it is just on the phone, sort of handheld, really now content, we don't have to plan that far. Maybe 2 or 3 weeks in advance, sort of thing, and we can get things done. I think that, that hasn't really changed with COVID-19, or with, Black Lives Matter, or anything like that. What I think you have to do, and you've always had to do this, is to have some sort of track where you're able to tap into the zeitgeist and do stuff that's now, that feels now, that has your own angle into it. I think TikTok has been really great for brands to sort of see how that operates, because things are so much like trending ups and downs on TikTok, that they can see, hey, we gotta get on this really quickly, do this sort of, audio thing, or do this skit, or do this thing that's blowing up on TikTok. And it doesn't have to be this big planned out sort of thing. It just has to be now. So I think we've seen brands sort of wake up to the more agile style of content, and get better at producing stuff quickly, and getting also aligned internally, like the processes to do it, and understanding that it's not going to be the end of the world if you make a post that doesn't, completely resonate, or is not like 100% aligned with your brand. I think that we're seeing a loosening up of those things, so that brands can tap into the zeitgeist. And how we're looking at it now is basically just pitching a lot of stuff to clients, like, hey, what about this? This is a hot topic. This is cool. Like, and really throwing ideas, and they're very receptive to it. So I think we're in a good place with that.
Fantastic. Thanks for that insight, Chris. I hope that was helpful for you, Nikki. We have so many questions, Chris. It's amazing. Everyone's saying that they're really enjoying this session. So I'm glad that we did it like this. Thank you. Anna says, do you think that correctness and elegance of the language of content on social media is important, or is it more important to write a lot on a regular basis because the message is more relevant than the form?
That's a good question. I think that, okay, so she's asking like the elegance of the
She's saying,
she's asked.
she's asking, so do
Say
you
it again.
think that elegant language of content is really important, or is it more important to just keep getting content out, I think, on a regular basis because the message is more relevant rather than, I'm guessing, I'm having to read in between the lines here, than having to really plan and be really elegant about it and make sure it's all, politically correct and all that kind of thing? Or do you think it's better to just fire things off and get into it and get going with it? Or is it a balancing act, Chris?
I think it's a balancing act. I know that's a cop-out answer, but here's the thing. Okay, so if you look at, it depends on who you are as a brand. I think also, like, if it's a brand where people are expecting flowery, in-depth language that unpacks things and sort of is a little bit more drawn out and thought through, then yes, I think you should do that. If you're a brand that's more about shooting from the hip and sort of like, really bold, sort of speaking in proverbs or speaking in sort of more philosophical ways, I think that's also relevant. I think, but you should also look at the language of your target audience. So if you're a young hip brand and you're not speaking like your target audience, you're not speaking in GIFs and memes and emojis and shortening your text, and then you're losing because you're not speaking on eye level with them. However, if you're a brand that's for an older generation or for really, scientific, people, or really people who love the English language or whatever language it is, then you have to talk like that. So it's not really about social media as it is about your target audience. What do they talk like? What do they speak like? And mirror that, and then you will probably succeed.
That's really good advice. It really does come back to who you're speaking to at the end of the day, doesn't it? And what they want, how they want to be spoken to. That's it, isn't it? And
I think so. You can test that. Like, here's the great thing: is like, if you're not sure about this, run Facebook ads towards your audience. Run it with flowery language or the language that you think that it should be, and run it with whatever else, and then see which one gets the most engagement. You don't even have to guess anymore about this. Like, you can literally spend $20 tomorrow and find out exactly what your audience wants to hear.
Such a great tip. Testing all the time, and you're always learning, aren't you? From your tests, basically. Okay, so Emily has got a question about the agency side of life, and she wants to know, what advice would you give a small agency that's growing quickly?
In general?
Question.
Hold on for dear life.
What advice would you give a small agency?
Watch your cash flow.
That's a good question.
Yeah. What would I do? I mean, I don't know. I mean, the thing is it depends. I think that growth with an agency, this is the one thing that I've learned many lessons on. Typically, you are financing your clients. And by that, I mean, you're always 30 days or 90 days ahead of getting paid. So you're paying your people or freelancers or whatever out of your own equity, out of your own pocket money before you get paid, unless you have a deal with your clients where they're paying you up front or they're paying you 50% up front, whatever it is. So you really, when you're growing fast and you're getting all these projects in and you're hiring people and stuff like that, you really have to watch your cash flow so that you don't get into a situation where you financed your clients for their projects much more than you actually have in the bank. So in that case, I would say you really have to have your financing in order. Either you have a credit line with your bank that can help you, bridge that gap before you get paid, or you've got a ton of equity in your bank account, like money in your bank, so that you can pay your people, pay your freelancers before you get paid. So I've been caught on those a few times where I'm like, fuck, I'm running out of cash because we've signed up for this big, huge project with a client that I had to, scale up to do, but I'm not getting paid for like 90 days because it's 30 days for the project to get kicked off. Then it's 30 days of production, and then it's 30 days of billing. So 90 days from now, I'm actually going to make $500,000, but holy fuck, I've got to pay my people before that. So hey, I better figure out how to get that paid. So that's one of the things that can happen with agencies that are growing fast. The other thing that can happen with agencies that are growing fast is that you don't have your processes in place, and you're onboarding new people that don't know anything about your business. They don't know about your process. So you really have to be good at onboarding people so that they get into the way that you work, and making sure that they follow up with that and are doing that, so that you don't get into a situation where you've got clients that are pissed at you because this isn't what we agreed on and this isn't how we work, and all those sort of things, right? So be very good at onboarding new people and be very good at sticking to your processes. And if you don't have your processes in place and you're growing really fast, you will get your ass kicked. So make sure that you have your processes in place, or else you're in dead zone, because you'll just get run over by the client.
Okay, that's actually really good advice. And just leading on from that, actually, so what happens if you are an agency, you start out, maybe you're quite small, and then things start to grow? Like she's just saying, what happens when you're growing? You said cash flow is important, process is important. But what happens if you onboard some clients, you don't have the processes in place? How can you quickly rectify that without damaging the relationship between yourself and the client? Is there a way? Have you ever had to deal with that? Is that a lesson you learned, basically?
Freelancers and stalling. Like, oftentimes in the agency business, like, if you don't know that this is going to be an ongoing relationship with the client, or that you're going to be able to sustain full-time people based on this new, if it's a project, if it's a retainer, great. Then you're home free, because then that it's sort of coming in. And then you can sort of have a stopgap with maybe some freelancers while you hire somebody. I am constantly hiring. So I'm always in the process of either searching for the next person or doing interviews, because I know that when we land something, I'm going to need somebody. So for example, we landed a project here middle of the summer. And I was like, we don't have anybody to run this. But because I've been doing hiring, and because I've been looking at a few people that I would like to work with, I was able to call somebody right away and say, hey, guess what? We need you. They're like, great, I'm there. And then we hire them starting August 1st, right? So I would say, be good at having people in your sort of back catalog of sort of, I'd really like to work with them, and having them in mind and asking around who's good to work with. So you're networking with those potential new employees so that you can call on somebody when you need it. That's really been helpful. Having a stable of great freelancers, because that's hard to find. Because great freelancers that are a good price is really hard to find. So you need to develop that stable so that you can, because oftentimes, I mean, if anybody's freelancing here, I love and I hate you guys, because sometimes you guys don't understand how much money we actually don't make. You guys are expecting the same rate that we charge our clients. And it's like, we can't do that. Then we basically are giving away marketing to our clients. And that's not a business, that's a charity. So having a good stable of freelancers that you can count on will really help you. And then stalling with the client, being very honest and say like, hey, listen, production wise, we've got clients here that have already booked months in advance to get this done. We can't take it on just yet. Can we move this? Can we move this to 3 weeks from now, 2 weeks from now, 4 weeks from now? And oftentimes they'll have a genuine conversation with you about that. And they'll say, yeah, you know what, actually, that maybe fits better with us as well, because we're just coming off of another project and we don't have the resources to actually do it. Clients are oftentimes a sort of like hurry up and wait situation where it's like, hurry up, I need that proposal. And then you like have to work your ass off to get the proposal in. And then it's like, you wait for a couple of weeks to hear back. And then you have to like all of a sudden get going with it. So just having good, transparent, open conversations with the client saying, we have a little bit of a backlog here that we got to get through. Are you comfortable with us starting in 3 weeks or 4 weeks or 5 weeks? Oftentimes they'll find a solution with you. If they want to work with you, if they genuinely want to work with you, they will find a way.
So
that was a lot of blabbering.
No, it was very good. It's a lot of great advice, actually, Chris. And it's a shame that we only had half an hour, and there was a little bit of an issue at the beginning. because now we're going right into the break time.
Right.
If anybody wants to go for a break, they can. It'd be great if you could answer another question for us before you go, Chris, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Before we go into
absolutely.
the afternoon.
And also, I'll be around afterwards. So just hit me up on the app, and I'll try my best. I'll be around for like an hour and a half after the session. So just, message me.
Oh, brilliant. Yeah, please message Chris, because he has so much knowledge. I love following him and reading everything that he has to say. It's absolutely fantastic. It's great advice. Giselle has a lot. So last question for you, Giselle, and it's coming more onto the content side again, away from the agency stuff. How do you see video content consumption and performance from a length perspective? So many focus on super short, snappy videos for Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, rather than taking a deeper dive into the ideation itself. So the question is, how do you see video content consumption and performance from a length perspective?
I mean, it depends on the platform. I mean, if you're on YouTube, you got to go long. I'm not, you got to have a 10-minute video on LinkedIn nowadays to get any sort of traction, because they want you to be on the platform longer. And I would say also, we don't have, in a world where Instagram launches IGTV 2 years ago, Facebook wants longer videos. They're trying to compete there. Netflix, Amazon, Apple TV, they're all competing for longer form content. So it all depends on the platform. And I would say if you're on TikTok, it's shorter, but then you also have these part 1, part 2, part 3, part 4 things on TikTok as well, right? So they're hacking the system to get longer form content into there. So I would say that's interesting to me, is like, and if we look at things like Twitch, where it's like 3 hours, you sit and live stream, you see like things like this, like we're sitting here for an entire day doing a virtual sort of conference because of the COVID situation, but you're going to see more long form content pieces like this. So it just depends on the platform, depends on the current need. So I would say it's not a one size fits all where it's like everything's going short. No, I mean, the reason why you have these longer form platforms and they're doing very successful, is because people want long form content. So you have to do both. What I say is start with long form and then chop it down into short form so that you get more pieces. So it's like making, I don't know about anybody else out there, but if you're a family person and you have mouths to feed, making that Sunday lasagna that last the week. Uh-oh. Am I frozen?
A little bit, yeah, you're frozen. You're frozen. Sorry. Guys, am I frozen as well?
And you, though. Can you hear us?
Well, Chris is frozen. Can you hear me? Okay, so Chris is frozen, but we got so much great information and tips from Chris today. Please keep asking him your questions. He said it's going to be in the app. Send him direct messages, ask him questions about agency stuff, about content creation stuff, social media branding, that kind of thing as well. And he's a fantastic personal brand, and it's testament to somebody who has used social media to build a personal brand, together working for their own agency as well. So we've gone a little bit late over the break, and we're coming back at 4 o'clock to do a talk with Luann Wise, how to keep up with social media news and trends. This is a super exciting session, but just while you're here, if you want to go to the booth and chat to some of the sponsors, please do so. It's going to be amazing. Oh, Chris is back, just as I was saying goodbye. Hi, Chris, you're back.
I'm here. No more frozen.
Chris, we froze, but we've also run out of time. So what I'm going to do is I've asked people if they can go and send you messages directly. And where can everybody find you, Chris, if they want to connect with you on social media, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, all of the other places that they can go?
I'm on MySpace, mostly.
Yeah.
No, I'm not on MySpace. Not anymore. Yeah, I mean, you can find me on everywhere. Just Chris Kubby, Kubby. Chris Kubby. Just search me. Instagram.com/Chris Kubby. That's probably the easiest place, or twitter.com/Chris Kubby. Those two places are the easiest to get in touch with me because they're fast and easy. LinkedIn, I don't accept every single request, although if you mention, hey, I saw you at social day, I will then definitely add you. I just get so many business development people calling me when I, open it up too much. So connect with me on LinkedIn. I would love to see you guys there, but definitely Instagram, Twitter, you'll find me there.
Fantastic. Chris, thank you so much for taking your time out today to do Virtual Social Day. I'm hoping that we'll be together in person and you'll be back again for a 4th year running to do a super exciting talk for all of us about social media and all things person. Awesome. Chris, thank you. Big round of applause for Chris Kubby on the Social Day virtual stage. Chris, we'll see you soon. Take care. Thanks. Bye.